Okay, welcome to part 3, which is going to be adding shadows on the ground. So it's pretty easy to do. It's not hard. You kind of did a lot of this stuff when you were doing the Monster Engine. So the way it works is this. The light is basically coming down from up here. So it casts a longer shadow. If you ever notice that when you're at sunset, your shadow is much longer than it is at 12 noon. So that's why when I make this with the uh, elliptical marquee, right? I don't put it dead center. I kind of put it over here and a little up, so it's kind of partially underneath. And there you go. Now, if you feel it's going to crowd, you can always make it a little thinner, which is what I'm going to do. So you can make it kind of thin like that. And remember that it kind of is longer on one side. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a layer called shadows. And that's what you need. You need it on a layer. Okay, don't put it on the ground. All right. You will put the shadows underneath everything, like all the flats and the paint. And on here, you're going to dump just black. Easy. We've done this a million times. Dump black, Command D. Okay. So now we're just going to deal with this all, a very simple way. Now, here's the cool part is the shortcut is hold down the Option button, and you can see, watch. See how it changes? It goes from a move tool to 2 arrows. So if you click and you're on this layer with the shadow, hold it down, and you can click and drag and move it up to the same spot. And I'm going to do this 4 times. And because it's on an upward arc here, it's not running into each other. So that's, you just have to make sure they, are, kind of on an upward arc, not like straight across. Now these shadows look a little funky because even though they're the same size, they look bigger, don't they? So the ones in the back, you have to go Command T and you got to just thin them out. And so each one of these, they get a little bit, the ones in the end are the thinnest. So I'm going to just basically go to each one of these, except for the first one, and I'm doing it less and less each time. So it's just, all I'm doing is I'm creating a little white space between the shadows. All right, so now you have, look at that, you have 4 shadows. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to basically merge these. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select all the shadows. And then you could just go up here. You can say merge layers. You could also say Command E, but the stripey thing is an easy thing to remember. Also right clicking, you could go down here to merge layers. There's 3 ways to do it. So now these are all on their own. You don't want to merge them till you get them just right, okay? You want them to be just right, meaning that they get a little thinner as they go back. At this point, now we're going to go to the word filter, which you guys have done. We did liquify, we did blur. So this is going to be the thing where we're doing blur. So you go to blur and you go to Gaussian blur. You make sure you're on the shadows layer, and we are. And you can see here, I could totally make that blurry, but that's way too blurry. You want to make it slightly blurry, not like that, like a little bit blurry, like that. Because these things are close to the ground, so the shadows are still fairly sharp, but they're not perfectly sharp like a graphic. So I've got them kind of fuzzy, and I'll zoom in to show you just how much. So you can see the difference. They're there, but they're fuzzy, and you can still see that white gap. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lower the opacity, but usually if you lower the opacity, here's the problem. Everything gets lowered. Now we want to make sure that it's darker underneath the ball right here. And as it goes out here, further away, it gets a little faded. So I'm going to use my eraser tool, and I'm going to make sure the opacity is at 50% and the flow is at 50%, and it is not a sharp edge eraser, it is a fuzzy one. So I'll pick the fuzzy one, and I'm going to make a fairly large cursor, and I'm on this, and I'm just gonna slowly erase the tips Usually I do them two at a time, the back two and then the front two. And you just kind of lightly erase the edge. So what happens is it's darker underneath and it kind of fades as it goes back. You don't want to make it like so faded that it's gone, but you know, that's good. And that is how you do your shadows. And that's it. Just remember, once you're done, lock your layer. You don't want to paint on the shadow layer. And the paint layer, that's done too. So you can lock that too. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be doing our textures, and then we're going to be done. Okay, so that's it.